So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the unit circle again and looking at radians a bit more, and looking at radians or the distance here and converting it into degrees. So we know that half a revolution is pi, a full revolution is 2 pi. This is pi on 2. This is 3 pi on 2. So if we were asked what pi on 4 is, now pi on 4 would fit in here. That's like a quarter, so that's 0. So that's like a quarter. So pi on 4, it's so half of pi on 2 equals pi on 4. So half of that, and we know that pi on 2 equals 90 degrees. Well, half of 90 degrees would have to be 45. So pi on 4 equals 45 degrees. If we were looking at minus pi on 4, for example, minus pi on 4, because remember, we go anti-clockwise. Minus means we go clockwise, so the minus comes down here. So that's going to be minus pi on 4 there. Now, we know that pi on 4 is 45 degrees. So that means 1 full rotation, 2 pi is 360. Well, it's going to be 360 take away 45 degrees. Now 360 take 40 is 320. So that's 315 degrees. So it's also important when we look at these questions, if it's got a positive sign, we go anti-clockwise. If it's got a negative sign, we go clockwise. And we have to understand what quadrant we're in as well. Okay? Now, if we were given a degree now, for example, and we're asked to find out how many radians it is, or we'll put it into radian form. So, for example, if we had 120 degrees, well, 120 degrees, that's 120 over 360, which is a third. So, a third, that's a third of 2 pi. Well, that equals 2 pi on 3 units, because it's a distance around the Ferris wheel. So if the Ferris wheel had gone 120 degrees around, it's gone 2 pi over 3 units around, because we're talking in terms of circumference here as well, because the circumference of the circle is 2 pi, because we're assuming that the radius is 1. So if we had, for example, 60 degrees, well, 60 over 360 is equal to 1/6. 1/6 of 2 pi, well, that's equal to pi on 3 units. And that's how we convert those degrees, that angle around, into radians.